Thanks for listening to the Thyroid Fixer podcast with your host, me, Dr. Amie Hornaman, aka the Thyroid Fixer, functional medicine practitioner, hormone and weight loss expert. We're talking all things thyroid, hormone, and health related in order to empower, educate, and transform you. So if you're ready to get your life back, let's get started. Why am I feeling worse on Synthroid, T4, Levo? Why am I feeling worse on it? That's what we want to talk about today because I hear that from so many of you. Now, we're going to break this down. First of all, are you on T4 only? If you're on T4 only and you're asking the question, why am I feeling worse? It's probably because you're on T4 only. T4 only doesn't work. I have another podcast and it's way back. So we can link to that in the show notes of what number it is. Fat and tired on T4 only. And there's a reason why I titled it that, because that's what you're going to be. So this is going to be a game changer for you. And you can probably hear the excitement in my voice. The latest introduction, the latest member of the family to the Fixer line is Metabolism Fixer. And this, oh my God, I formulated this just for all my people out there that need to lose weight, that need help in the weight loss department, that can't lose weight no matter what they do, that feel like they have a slow metabolism, and that might be thinking of trying all those peptides out there, you know, the Beverly Hills soccer mom drug of choice for weight loss peptides. Or even if you're on them already and you're like, man, these are really expensive and I'm still not losing weight, add in Metabolism Fixer. Here's what I did. I took the power of T2, which increases your basal metabolic rate while you are sitting there watching Netflix. You're burning fat while you're watching Netflix. I combined it with a very unique patented ingredient called Suppressa. Suppressa has multiple clinical trials backing its efficacy in reducing your appetite, decreasing snacking, and providing way more control over your food intake. It is amazing. We also see improved emotional well-being, just decreased food cravings all around, reduced hunger, and weight management. Add on top of that, we have green tea extract, we have purple forest purple tea extract, both of which affect the metabolism in a very positive way without the jitters of normal fat burning supplements out there from the 1980s and 90s, right? The ones that made you feel like you're having a heart attack. You will not have that in any of my supplements, Thyroid Fixer or Metabolism Fixer. But Metabolism Fixer, ooh, yeah, we kicked it up a notch. It is in powder form, so you can drink it through your day. It's going to flavor your water. We got orange crush and refreshing citrus. I love them both. It is going to keep you under control all day long. So you throw a couple scoops in your water bottle in the morning, throw a scoop or two in your water bottle throughout the day. You will have fat burning and appetite control the entire day for what? An eighth of a price of the peptides? Oh my God, you can't go wrong. So grab some Metabolism Fixer today. Please let me know how you do on it. I am super excited for you. Super excited. T4 only rarely works. And I'm going to tell you, and I would argue this point all day long, you show me a person that says, I'm doing fine on my Synthroid, and I will show you a person that needs to lose 30 pounds because there's no way that T4 only works. It doesn't. Here's why. When we give you T4 has to convert to T3. You've heard me say this many times. And it goes through this conversion process, and it's kind of like running 10 Tough Mudders. It is a really hard job to do. And that is why it's so important to know your labs and to know all of the little things beyond thyroid labs, beyond hormone labs. It's important that you know your labs because we need to know. Are you anemic? Are you estrogen dominant? Are you insulin resistant? Do you have enough magnesium? Do you have enough zinc? Do you have enough or too much selenium? Are you not taking iodine? Is your iodine low? Do you have all of these things that can get in the way of T4 to T3 conversion happening in your body? Chances are, you have one or two of them, if not all of them. And I didn't even go through the whole extensive list, but T4 to T3 conversion is a really tough process to occur in the body. And the only reason that you have been told ad nauseum that T4 only works is because you have to follow the money trail. How many dollars do you think that med schools are getting from Abbott Pharmaceuticals or whoever the hell makes Synthroid coming in and going, hey, nudge, nudge, Mr. Medical School President, you know that T4 only, that's the standard of care for anyone that's diagnosed with a thyroid problem. And we have many, many, many studies that show that it works. So, that's what you should teach your doctors. Of course, then they leave med school. They're not thyroid specialists at all. They're not specialists of any kind when they leave med school. So they leave and they give all of you, their patients, T4 because that's what they were taught. Remember, I've told you this story before. I'll repeat it again. I gave a talk to a group of integrative wellness physicians. And in that talk, I posed the question of why are they in the Synthroid box? I said, if you have someone with depression, you're going to give them a second antidepressant and a third antidepressant, and then you're going to tag on another one because it's a tag along antidepressant. And then we're going to use an anti-anxiety, an antipsychotic, and a sleeping pill. But you won't do anything other than T4? Why is that? And the one guy raises his hand and goes, that's all we've learned. To my point exactly, right? Follow the money trail back to med school. Okay, so T4 only, if you're on that, that's the problem in and of itself. And I've had many patients come to me that were working one-on-one, and they said, I just stopped taking it a few months ago because it wasn't making me feel any better. In fact, it was probably making me feel worse. So they just stop it. And many times it doesn't really matter. I mean, their TSH will go up and I'll be like, well, gee, I really wish you wouldn't have stopped that totally like cold turkey, but that's all right. Let's go from here and actually get you optimized. So they'll just stop it because they don't feel any better, or they will feel worse. So feeling worse on T4, if you're on the generic form Levo, chances are you're being exposed to a multitude of fillers in that Levo. And some of you are very, very sensitive to fillers. Now, side note, because I don't want y'all freaking out about being on generic T3. Generic T3 has less fillers than generic T4. Generic T3 has less fillers than brand T3. How about them apples? So if you're on T4 only and you're on the generic form, chances are the fillers in that generic form could be affecting you. So if you're noticing additional hair loss, if you're noticing weight gain and you're on T4 only, and it could just be that you're on T4 only, but let's say you're on T4 and T3 and you're noticing weight gain from your Synthroid, from your Levo generic, it could be the fillers in it. Now, Synthroid has fillers too. So I just kind of threw that in the mix subconsciously. Synthroid does have fillers as well. Now, it's a step up though. It's the brand version. And then one step higher than Synthroid is Tirosint. So Tirosint, and then one step higher than Tirosint is Tirosint Sol. That's the liquid form. So Tirosint and Tirosint Sol, really virtually no fillers whatsoever. Incredibly clean in terms of T4 medications. Very, very well tolerated unless you have a conversion problem. So Tirosint is fantastic, but I mean, insurance companies don't like to cover the good stuff. So you're going to get a big bill for Tirosint if you haven't gone through the gamut of trying Levo, changing the Synthroid, and then you have to have proof in your records that these two cause kind of an adverse reaction or patient doesn't tolerate it well. And then your doctor can prescribe Tirosint and it will be covered. Or you can just flat out pay out of pocket for Tirosint if you really want to go that route. So when we're looking at the T4s, of course, number one, we're looking at the fillers. And a lot of times what I'll hear, kind of backing up to hair loss, one thing you have to remember with hair loss, everyone, hair loss occurs from something you did 2 months ago. So like with this big C virus that's out, We're seeing hair loss and hair breaking 2 months after. If you had, a huge stress event a couple months ago, 2 months after that is when you will start to see it affecting your hair. So if you start on a new medication and you experience additional hair loss right away, it's not the med. It's absolutely not the med. Now, it could be the fillers if you're celiac, if you're very, very sensitive to gluten, because that generic T4 has gluten in it. It could be the fillers in that and the gluten specifically causing inflammation in your body that is creating that hair loss. So that is a stressor on the body, 100% a stressor on the body. So it could be the fillers, it could be the gluten, it could be you reacting, it could be the fact that you're on T4 only and T4 only doesn't work. What if you're just on too much T4? So that's a huge problem as well. So I'll get patients come in, see me, list the symptoms. That's why you're seeing me. And I'll give you a hypothetical. They're on 137 micrograms of T4 and 5 micrograms of T3. Well, that's a lot of T4. Has anyone checked your reverse T3? Because it's not that you need T3 only. There's many, many steps in that journey before we say someone on 137 micrograms of T4, oh my God, you need to be on T3 only. No, we don't know that right now. We have no idea. And I'll get that question too. Do I need to be T3 only? The goal is not to make you T3 only. That is not the goal. So just because I say things like fat and tired on T4 only, T4 only is going to make you fat and tired. T3 only isn't the opposite goal. There are many, many steps and many, many different scenarios and combinations of medication that we can do before we call you T3 only. So side note, let's say you're on a really high dose of T4 and no one's testing your reverse T3. So we test it for the first time. Oh, look, it's an 18. Now, what we want to do is lower that T4 medication first. Probably change you, if you're on generic, change you to brand. At least go and do a bump up to Synthroid. Then lower that T4 medication down to a lower dose. So maybe go from 137, maybe we go down to 100. And then add in T3. So that 5 micrograms of liothyronine, the generic T3 would go to 5 micrograms twice a day. And then after holding that for a week or two and making sure you tolerate it, we would go to 10 micrograms in the morning and 5 in the afternoon. Holding the T4 just the same. Hold it at 100. Then maybe we go up again and we go 10 and 10 with your T3, and then we hold it and then we retest and then see where's that reverse T3? Did it come down at all? So if reverse T3 only came from, let's say, an 18 to a 17, we need to do another drop with your T4 and then possibly another increase with your T3, depending on where your free T3 levels are. If the reverse went from an 18 to a 12, then we can hold that T4, assess your symptoms, ask those 4 important words, how do you feel? And then change the T3 dosing. So that's how we do that. Now, like I said, I have a separate podcast called Fat and Tired on T4 only. And that is very important if you are on T4 only. And my God, especially if you had a thyroidectomy, I have another podcast just for thyroidectomy and radioactive iodine and partial thyroidectomy patients. You cannot be on T4 only because they removed your thyroid that once produced T4 and T3. They removed the main gland of conversion from T4 to T3. You cannot be on T4 only. But even if you still have your thyroid, T4 only probably isn't going to work. And that's why you're actually getting worse. Now, here's another scenario for you why you might be getting worse. Just saw this in my Facebook group, the Love Your Mirror group today. If you're not part of that group, you need to join because it's just a kick-ass group. I mean, we are like a huge, huge family in there. So someone posts that their doctor wants to increase their T4 and doesn't like the fact that their TSH is suppressed on 30 micrograms of T3. So they want to plummet that down to 5, but they're willing to increase their T4 medication from 100 to 125. Okay, so if you go up in your T4 medication, and this is a very common scenario, and a lot of you are going to be nodding your heads, you go to your doctor, they test you, And they keep climbing. You need more T4. Let's do another dose increase, dose increase, dose increase. The whole time they're testing your TSH and your free T4. May or may not be okay, but they're not even testing your free T3 or your reverse T3. Another dose increase, another dose increase. You keep feeling worse. No one is checking your conversion. No one. Dose increase, dose increase. So now you're on this super high dose of T4, little to no T3. It's no wonder you're feeling worse because they just keep pumping in the T4 that isn't working. And they're not even checking your conversion. So that's another very common scenario that I see. It still ties back to conversion. Yes, it does. But there are so many different scenarios that can tie back to conversion. Bottom line is you have to be checking that reverse T3 and don't keep pumping more T4 into your body. That's not the answer. So if it's making you feel worse, chances are your doctor is going up, up, up in that dose. And with each increase, you might be having more conversion issues. So another scenario is, okay, someone got there, you got your reverse T3 tested when you were on 100 micrograms of T4, and it was a 10. And then your doctor kept increasing you, and now you're on 150 micrograms of T4, but nobody's checked your reverse T3 since then. It could have went up. You could still have conversion issues because of that increased T4 because they keep throwing more T4 at you. I wouldn't do that. They keep throwing more T4 at you, not even bothering to check your reverse T3 or your free T3 to see if it's converting over, to see if you have a conversion problem. So those are all the reasons why you might be feeling worse on T4. You might need to change the dose. You might need to change the type. Go to brand, go to Tirosint, go to Tirosint Salt if you're super sensitive, if your insurance will cover it. You probably need to, or you do definitely need to check your reverse T3. You probably need to add in T3 or more T3. If you're feeling worse, your symptoms are a huge sign for us as practitioners. I listen to your symptoms. I'm not saying your doctor's going to listen to your symptoms, but those 4 important words, how do you feel, are very, very, very important in terms of us putting that puzzle together for you. I can give you all the scenarios in the world. There are 10 more where those came from, but every single person is so unique and different. So if you're getting worse at all, and this applies, I know I'm focused on T4, symptoms getting worse on T4, but this applies to armor as well, because armor is T4 and T3. So again, if we keep going up in your dose of armor and you're not feeling better and nobody's checking your reverse T3, which I always check, but we have to check that if you're going up in the armor, because what if that is hindering conversion as well? Every dose increase of armor is roughly, and I say roughly, an 80-20 split of T4 to T3. Now there's some T2 in armor too. So we don't get exact, like you can't take 60 milligrams of armor and say, okay, 20% of that, I'm getting 12 micrograms of T3. No, it's not an exact calculation like that. But just if you think of the 80-20 split of T4 to T3, every dose increase of armor is a dose increase in mostly T4 and a little bit of T3. So with armor, that's what's beautiful is that we can also, if you're working with an open-minded practitioner or with me, we can add in T3 to the armor. And then that's going to change your entire ratio profile of T4 to T3, what's going in your body. So maybe you do really well on the version of T4 that is armor, that natural desiccated thyroid version of T4. But there's only 20% T3. And your free T3 is still low. And we don't want to go up in the armor because your reverse T3 is, it's on that borderline, like you're 12 or 13. So what do? We add in liothyronine. We add in T3 to the armor. And remember, generic T3, very little fillers. Add in the T3 to the armor. And then we can change that ratio. So now technically you're not at an 80-20. Maybe you're at a 60-40. 60% T4 because of the added T3. Now you're at 40% T3 when we do the math. Hopefully this helps you just to better understand, because I know I've heard so many of you say that you're getting worse. Some of you just stop your medication. Like I said earlier, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't stop it. If you were diagnosed, you were diagnosed, then you have a thyroid problem. So stay on your medication, but fire your doctor and find somebody who's going to work with you, like myself, that will listen to you and we'll put the puzzle together and we'll figure out exactly what's going on with your symptoms, because it's silly to continue suffering. And again, crossing your fingers and wishing on a rainbow that maybe your doctor will be enlightened somehow and will be open to helping you all of a sudden after years of not. And listen, if you're with a good doctor that you can have this conversation with, then by all means, have that conversation and see how open he or she is to what you are proposing. Just to let you guys know, we'll be sending this out in an email. We'll be posting it on Facebook. That's why you have to be in my group so you can see it in there. But I have a brand new present for you with all of the labs and all of the lab values. I mean, beyond thyroid, beyond hormones. We're getting into, the insulin and A1C and the nutrients and the iron and the CBC with DIF and parasites and underlying infections and all that fun stuff. So you might want to grab that just so you can have it in front of you and go, okay, let me put this puzzle together so that I can go to my open-minded doctor and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. Do you see the same thing? And see if they will make changes based on what you see, because you are the educated patient. You're your own patient advocate. You know your body. All right. Let me know if this helps. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I hope you loved it. And as always, if you would be so kind to leave a review, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, that would be absolutely amazing. I read all of them. Also, anything that you hear on this podcast is not intended to diagnose or treat any kind of medical condition. So we always recommend that you check with your medical provider, your doctor, your nurse practitioner before implementing anything that you hear on this podcast. And if you want to find out more about working together, you can click the link below in the show notes to book a discovery call. And there you'll be talking to a member of my team. They are an extension of me. They are amazing. And you and I will talk after that once we get you all signed up and you and I get to work together. All right. I hope to see you soon.